Awesome. Well, welcome everyone to the Autonomous Mobile Robot and Logistics Conference Kickoff. My name is Jake Hall, and I am the Manufacturing Millennial. And here we are going to talk with some really phenomenal leaders and influencers in the industry, really leading up to what's going to be happening at a in-person event less than 2 weeks away, the AMRL conference in Memphis, Tennessee, October 12th through the 14th. So joining me today are just some really awesome people and really who I call friends now in the industry over the past really just couple years of creating conversations. With me, first of all, is someone who does not need to be announced. Jeff Bernstein. He is the current president of the Association for Advancing Automation. He has been the president for 14 years and active before that. And within A3, as we call it, they have such incredible different tech sectors, from robotics to vision to motion control to artificial intelligence. And they really are one of the leading organizations out there when it comes to the robotics and automation industry. A3 also puts on, besides the AMRL conference that's going to be happening in a couple weeks, the big Automate conference. And just a quick shout out for that. That's Automate Detroit 2022. And that's going to be a really exciting event as well. Next, Aaron Prather. Aaron is just an amazing guy. He is a huge advocate for workforce and labor itself. Every Wednesday on LinkedIn, he talks about Workforce Wednesday. Super passionate about the industry and getting people involved. But his daytime, his professional job, he works at Fedex. He started off as a truck offloader almost 25 years ago, and now he is a senior technical advisor. And then finally, last but not least, Chris Luecke, one of my dear friends who also happens to have a Lego manufacturing happy hour minifigure like me. He is the host of Manufacturing Happy Hour. And if you're not listening to that podcast, it's probably one of the best leading industry podcasts out there. So welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Fantastic.
Always good to be here.
For those of you guys who are in the audience, as always, when we're doing these live events, please feel free, if there's questions along the way, if there's comments, we love to see you active in chat. If you have questions about the AMRL event or automation or logistics or that in general, please feel free to comment. We're going to highlight your comments on the screen. We're going to answer those along the way, but let's go ahead and let's dive in. So we're talking today about the AMRL conference happening in 2 weeks, Memphis, Tennessee, really sponsored by Fedex and a bunch of other great companies out there. And Chris, go ahead and just kick it off with your first question of what we're doing.
Yeah, let's do a little bit of icebreaker here because we're getting back into live events right now. I think all of us have been to live events of all shapes and sizes since things have started to reopen. So first question is, and Aaron, I'm going to have you answer first, and then we'll go to Jeff and Jake, is what have you enjoyed the most about the return of live events so far? We basically spent a year plus locked indoors, not being able to go to live events. So Aaron, what are you enjoying about getting your feet back on the street?
Oh, I mean, there's just something to be said about having a live event where you can actually interact, you can talk to folks, you can actually see products, you can touch products, and just having that one-on-one. Yeah, Zoom's great, Teams, but the whole thing is that one-on-one interaction and really getting into the minutiae. I mean, you can talk online, but the whole thing is really until you get in there and you can really see the product and you really can see what it's doing. And understanding all that stuff and really being able to ask really good questions as you're seeing everything happen. That's the beauty of live events. And I'm so glad they're coming back now. We all have to still be safe and all that. But the whole thing is yeah, it's so great to be back.
Yeah, especially for our industry, getting to see the physical products, interact with them, interact with the robots now. It's so critical for our industry. Let's move to Jeff next, because you and Jake are both literally fresh off of PAC Expo. You're back home. So Jeff, what are you enjoying about conferences being back?
Well, first of all, I think I was at FabTech and I saw Jake there, and then I saw him at PAC Expo. I feel like every week now I'm seeing Jake, and that's a great thing because it really proves the value of live events. These big crowds that we're seeing in the middle of a pandemic still are really indicative of how important live is. and how much people want to interact and learn from each other. It's that learning part that I found the most valuable. Within just a few minutes of being at the first show I was at, FabTech, I was able to talk to a bunch of CEOs in person about what they were seeing, the demand, why it was there, the challenges of the supply chain, the worker issues. I mean, it was great. It really brings you up to speed in a hurry, in addition to the opportunity to see all the cool technology.
Yeah. So we've got seeing the technology, we've got the learning experiences, we've got those in-person one-on-one interactions. Jake, what about you? What are you enjoying?
Yeah. I mean, I think it just highlights what Aaron and Jeff just said. It's collaboration and conversation. It's one of those things where I can sit and be at a show, walk up to someone and introduce them and create those conversations. I was at the Robotique booth at PAC Expo talking with Silas, who's over at Olympus Technologies. They're on the west side of the state. And as I'm sitting there talking, 4 other people walk up and just say hi, have conversations. And one of them, I was like, hey, you're a robotics startup company that's working on collaborative robots out of California. You should meet Silas because he's the distributor for UR on the northwest corner. There's a handshake and a connection that would not happen on LinkedIn. It wouldn't happen on a an online platform. And being able to have those connections, those face-to-faces, those handshakes, that's just is what really is just driving the value that comes from an in-person event more than anything else. And Chris, I'm going to take that question and bounce it back off to you. You've been to quite a few trade shows as well. The Mining Expo, you were at Vegas just 2 weeks before Jeff and I were, standing in probably one of the largest dump trucks I've ever seen in my life, bigger than my house.
Yep.
What about you?
I would say very similar to what you all said, but I'm going to put one word to it, and that's serendipity, right? Like when you go into a Zoom call, you have an idea who's there. When you're walking the show floor at Mine Expo or PAC Expo, whatever it is, you end up seeing and meeting people that you didn't even know were going to be there. I have a very surprise guest coming on Manufacturing Happy Hour in the next few weeks, which come mid-October, you'll see who it is. But if you're familiar with techno babble videos or a video that references something called a retro encabulator, that's a little hint as to what's coming next. So the serendipity of who you meet, the things that happen that you did not expect. So, and I'm seeing a lot of comments as well. People are excited to get back out as well. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves in the comments as well. Share what you're excited about. But we're going to keep this conversation rolling. We're going to jump more into the topic at hand, which is the Autonomous Mobile Robots and Logistic Conference. So, Jake, I'm going to pass it back to you to kick off the meat of the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And you truly met a legend from that Rockwell who did the retro and Kevin. I remember that was a meme before I think I was probably still in middle school or high school when that video came out. And I'll try and get that posted in the comments later on. But that is just by far one of the best automation nerdy videos that are out there. So yeah, let's jump into AMRL, but let's actually take one step higher and let's talk about the organization of AMRL A3. The Association for Advancing Automation, you guys just did a phenomenal rebrand. Automate.org is the new website that everyone can go to, and also where you can go to register for this event coming up. Jeff, tell us about A3 a little bit. Why is A3 there? Who is a part of it? And why is it important to the automation, the robotics, the manufacturing, and so many other industries?
Well, it's been around since 1974. It started as a robotics association. It helped really educate people about robotics. I mean, there was no way to learn about the technology in the early days. Some company leaders came together to figure out how to really build this industry. That's what we've done for now over 4 decades, bringing in other technologies like machine vision and motion and AI, like you mentioned. We're here to provide information to companies who want to apply the technology, to provide information to government leaders who need to know about it, to the general public. So I think we play a really important role, and I think that's why we have over 1,000 member companies from all over the world. And you mentioned something about connection, Jake, connecting people. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest values of being part of the association is our ability to connect with other people in the same space, in the automation space. And just like you said, walking around the trade show, seeing people, knowing what they do and knowing what other people do in our industry. The one thing I would say about the members of the association is they're always willing to talk to people with good ideas. So if I send a note to somebody saying, hey, talk to this startup because they've got some really interesting technology, almost invariably, the CEOs of those companies are happy to talk to them. And we just had a great success story this week with one of our startup members who announced some major seed funding. So it's a great association for learning, for promoting, and for making new contacts like you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Chris, you want to dive into that next question?
Yeah, and I'm seeing some questions come in the comments as well. I would say keep the questions coming in. We're going to be kind of tallying these as we go through and addressing the ones we can later on. But yeah, segueing from A3 into the conference itself, Jeff, I'll start with you on this, and then Aaron, I wouldn't mind getting some of your takes on this as well. Let's talk about the conference. How did this event come to be, and why an AMR and logistics conference now in 2021?
Well, it actually came to be in 2019 when we held an event like this, primarily focused on AMRs in Louisville. And the reaction to that event was unbelievable. I mean, we had 430 people. And that's where Aaron and I started talking about, well, where should the next event be? And we talked about Memphis. And of course, the pandemic hit and we couldn't do it in 2020, which was the original plan. And so since then, what's happened? The importance of AMRs has only grown. The logistics issues have only become more important for companies. And so the timing is perfect for the event. We think the location's great and really appreciate all the support we're getting from Fedex.
Yeah. And just so the audience is listening to this right now, Jeff just talked about some, the size and scale of it. Here's just a couple of numbers right now. The mobile robotics market is growing from 18 billion, which is in 2018, to 54 billion in 2023. So that's the size of the mobile robotics market that's growing. The US e-commerce sales, and I think this is something that, Aaron, I'm actually going to punch over to you next. The US e-commerce sales has exceeded to $210 billion, up 37% from the previous year. And over 315 million square feet were built in Q3 of 2020, leading up to 2020, which is just talking about the crazy demand for the warehouse and logistics industry. And then one more interesting fact, and Aaron, you're probably going to correct me on this because it's constantly growing. FedEx delivered on average per day 17 million packages in their 2021 fiscal year. 17 million per packages. So, Aaron, the question goes to you. Why is hosting this event at FedEx so important to you guys, with really being, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first AMR event, right? AMR focused industry event.
Well, second one. I mean, we did the one in Louisville, but
yeah, sorry. So why is that important to FedEx?
Well, as you just said, how many packages did we just ship? And actually, those are already out of date. That was our fiscal year ending in May. We are already up to 18 million packages a day now.
Wow.
Around the globe, every day being delivered. Here in Memphis alone, right now, okay, if I look out my window, and if you hear a plane buzz over my head right now, it is a FedEx plane. Because we are in the flight path. Right now, they are wrapping up the day's sort right now, and they have processed just during this past 5 hours 1.1 million packages here for delivery tomorrow. But tonight, they're going to do about 1.6 million packages here tonight. So actually, tomorrow's deliveries out of Memphis will be about 2.7 million packages. Okay, that's just one of our hubs. Yeah. I'm not counting Indianapolis, Greensboro, North Carolina, Oakland, Dallas, Texas, or our overseas markets. And and I'm barely counting our other facilities of ground and freight as well. So the whole thing is one thing that came out of this pandemic is grandma learned how to order online, and she ain't going back.
I don't think it was just grandma. I think it was my
going
wife
back.
too, Aaron.
Yeah. And so the whole thing is we're blowing up. We need automation. We need robotics, arms, mobiles, and that's why in Louisville, as Jeff said, this was an AMR conference.
Mhm.
Notice what we've added this time. It's
Okay.
an AMR and logistics conference. And if you look at the list of sponsors and exhibitors, a lot of them are not just AMR conference companies. They are arm makers. There's a lot of folks. I mean, if you look at that exhibit list, you might wonder, but the whole thing is it's the logistics part.
Yeah.
So there is something to be said about everything that touches how a package gets to from the warehouse to you now or to your business, of everything it takes. And this is why we're doing it in Memphis, because Memphis is the logistics capital, the unofficial logistics capital of the United States. The Memphis airport is the busiest cargo airport in the world. And that's just not counting what FedEx does. There is a huge UPS facility here. There is a huge DHL facility here. It goes on and on. If you need to just make a one-stop shop stop and you want to talk to logistics folks, you come to Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
And when all the attendees come, they're going to see that.
I've got another question to follow up on this, because I'm listening to the conversation. I'm also keeping track of the comments that are coming in. Shout out to Steve and Patty. Sounds like we got a couple attendees to the conference that are hanging out. So let's talk about what people should expect and come prepared with as they descend upon Memphis. Aaron, I'll start with you on. Sorry, Jake.
Yeah, and if you are going, let us know in the comments. Make that post on that.
Yeah, so I want to hear from both of you on this, and I feel like we've been letting Jeff lead off quite a bit. So Aaron, we'll let you lead off this time, and then we'll follow up with Jeff.
Okay. Of what to expect when you get here?
Yep. What to expect in Memphis and at the conference?
Oh. Well, first of all, we're going to be at the Renaissance Convention Center in downtown Memphis. It is newly renovated, and Jeff did the tour, and I think Jeff was completely blown away. It is right downtown. It overlooks the Mississippi River. It overlooks the I-40 bridge. So again, logistics is going to be right in front of your face at the convention center. You are going to see trucks going by. You're going to see riverboats going by, moving cargo. You're going to see the train line moving by. All that is going to be right there in front of you. The convention center sits on the downtown trolley line, which is great. So that means all convention goers can be able to just jump on the trolley line and go further downtown towards the Peabody Hotel and see the ducks. You can go down further to the Art District, to Beale Street, and take in some great music and revelry. And if you just want to explore the rest of the town, just find one of us locals and we'll tell you where to go. But it's going to be just a great event of just seeing how logistics works. We have some great speakers lined up. We will have 5 FedEx senior executives speaking on the first day of the conference. And each one of them represents a different aspect of our business, from freight to warehousing to the airline side of the business to supply chain side, all of that. So they're going to talk about the whole breadth of logistics and how certain technologies are going to be able to plug in at various parts. So if you have only an interest in a certain type of logistics, we will have somebody there for you. And we already know that our fellow brethren in the logistics industry are all descending on Memphis as well. And we welcome them with open arms, because the whole industry needs this. The whole industry needs to look at automating and how to help as grandma and grandpa and everybody else keep ordering packages.
I think, Aaron, when we look at one of those questions, is everyone needs help. Why, and Jeff, maybe we can bounce this one back to you. Why AMRs? Why is that important? Why now in 2021 has autonomous mobile robotics, AGVs, been such a growing industry? I think we can, a lot of it can tie into the labor shortage just in general. But what else out there is just making AMR such a big topic? And also with your presentation, Jeff did a really good presentation at the forum at PAC Expo this week. He gave a really good overview of robotics in general. Jeff, can you also speak on how the trajectory and growth is going to happen within mobile robotics that we're going to see over the next few years as well?
Sure. I mean, look, Aaron hit it on the head with everybody ordering things over the internet. You need to get something delivered. All these new warehouses and distribution centers are popping up. They can't find enough people. The jobs of walking miles and miles every day, that's not a scalable activity. You got to have these machines there to do it. AMRs are doing a great job of getting you your packages. So, I mean, I think we're only going to see more opportunities outside of warehousing and logistics. You're seeing them in factories, retail, all kinds of applications for AMRs are developing. And we'll be talking a lot about those at the conference. So in terms of the robotics industry, I mean, again, the same thing. If companies can't find workers, how do they keep production up? And that's a key challenge. It's one of the major drivers. We always used to talk about robots. Well, people outside of me used to talk about robots putting people out of jobs. And we kept saying, no, it's just the opposite. Robots are creating jobs and they're saving jobs because that's what's happening. Companies can't find workers. And if it weren't for the automation, in many cases, you'd be losing jobs because your company couldn't stay in business and couldn't compete, especially during a pandemic when, you can't bring people in. You need to create social distancing. How do you keep things up and running? Automation's been a godsend in that regard, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a comment I think Evan asked earlier about how can we get more women involved with these panels? And I think that's a great topic to be brought up. And I'm trying to find that to highlight it because I don't want it to go ignored. My daughter just walked in and asked, why is this video just boys? And man, what a great call out. And Evan, I'm glad you did. And what we need to do is we need to get more women involved in this industry. And, Evan, if you know of great experts or people who are super passionate about that, we'd love to have. I know Melanie Wise, who was the founder of Fetch, is one of our speakers as well, right? Is that correct, Jeff?
Yeah, she's giving a keynote, but it's a great question, and it's a challenge that goes beyond this call here, right? Yeah. The real issue is we've got to do a better job of developing women into higher roles and getting more of them excited about automation fields and people of color. We have to increase diversity, and it's going to be one of the topics that is addressed at the conference as well.
Right.
And these workforce issues. We can't leave anybody behind. In fact, we're missing out on great ideas from people who don't look like us, frankly. And so we need to make that happen. And it's a industry-wide, and we're not the only industry, obviously, that has this challenge. And I talk about this all the time. We need to do a better job.
Yep, absolutely. Great conversation. Perfect. Chris, did you have another question you wanted to?
Gosh, we've gotten a ton of questions over in the comments, not just the conversation we just highlighted, but some that are related to the conference as well. So, let me take a look here. I'm going to pick out one of the first ones, and I apologize, this wasn't the first question that's asked, but it is one of the ones that's showing up towards the top, and I think there's some relevance here. As we're expanding in logistics and with AMRs, how do the role of integrators play in this as well? Jeff or Aaron, where would one of you like to jump in and start off with that one?
Aaron, you want to take that first?
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely a role for integrators. And I think that this is going to be a topic that's going to be discussed not only at the conference. I think we're going to be talking about this for a long time, but the role for integrators is there. And it is going to be of getting them in front of the right folks. One of the things I hear a lot in the logistics industry is actually when I bring up integrators, the first question is, what's that? So we got an education thing we got to address, and it is that whole thing, and this is what's so great about this conference, and it's so great it's going to be in person. There will be some logistics industry folks there that are going to be just very open-eyed of seeing this for the first time, and it's another great reason of having it in Memphis, because there's so many logistics executives here, not just for FedEx, but for numerous companies. Numerous companies are located here. And so a lot of executives will be coming to this meeting. So this is why we've been stressing this so importantly of why, if you are in robotics and automation, even if you are not an AMR company, being here in Memphis is going to be so critical, because you are going to be now face to face, as we've been talking about, being able to make those connections. And I know that's one of the things I'm going to be doing the entire time at the conference, is I will be literally like looking around, says, oh, there's the guy that runs those 4 warehouses further downtown. I'm going to bring him over to these guys. Oh, there's this guy. He's been asking, I need AMRs, but I also need palletization solutions. Okay, I know I'm going to take them over to these guys. So just as you said, Jake, earlier, of how it is just getting those connections made. But there is, going back to the original, there is a role for integrators. It's just, how do you match them to what their skill set is, to the right use cases in the logistics industry? And there's plenty. There are so many things we need to solve in logistics. I saw one question says, on AMRs, are we looking for small, big? Yeah, we're looking for everything. I have every size mobile robot made, from the littlest one to the biggest one. So there's your answer. It's everything. And Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, definitely role for integrators. This is a great event to connect, as Aaron said, important opportunities for integrators. You know, we have over 200 integrator members in our association. I don't know if you knew that. And again, as far as the technologies, again, AMRs is only one piece of it. It's a major part of the conference, but we've got vision companies that'll be there, motion control, AI. We'll be talking about all these technologies, and just a really great opportunity for integrators to be there and learn and connect.
Yeah. So we're about halfway through the hour. I just wanted to quickly bring it back for those of you guys who are just joining us right now. Really what we're doing today on LinkedIn Live is we are doing a kickoff for the upcoming 2021 Autonomous Mobile Robot and Logistics Conference. That's going to be happening in 2 weeks in Memphis, Tennessee. It's going to be happening October 12th through the 14th. And you can still register for the event. If you want to, you can go to www.automate.org. Click on there, go to events, and register and be a part of really a great conversation that's going to be happening. There's going to be over 25 keynote speakers that are going to be a part of individual keynotes or panels. And there's over 50 exhibitors.
Yeah, 55 now. Yeah.
55 exhibitors. And these exhibitors are people within the robotics world, the vision world, people who manufacture, design AMRLs or forklifts, or designing forklifts that way, or the software side of the logistics industry as well. So there's going to be a great diversity of AMRLs and people bringing solutions to the logistics industry. So that's going to be happening 2 weeks away, October 12th through the 14th. And I know all 4 of us who are on this call right now are going to be there, as well as probably over a couple dozen people who are already in chat right now having great conversations. So that's what this event is all about.
Yeah, you know, one of the other topics that we haven't hit on is safety and standards, right? That'll be discussed at the conference. We'll be presenting the latest in the mobile robot safety standard. And another thing is interoperability. Big topic for Aaron, I know. And we'll have panels on that and some demos too.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Chris, I think you have a key connection with one of the panels. It actually is the Kickoff panel, because you recently just had a manufacturing happy hour podcast with them. And honestly, one of my favorite ones, Boston Dynamics, is going to be there. Chris, what was your experience talking with Boston Dynamics already leading up to this event?
Well, it's interesting that Jeff just transitioned into safety, because for anyone not familiar, Boston Dynamics is the group that has Spot, the mobile robot that looks like a dog. And between my interview with Boston Dynamics as well as seeing Spot walking the floor at Mine Expo a couple weeks ago. One of Spot's top applications in the manufacturing industry is safety. It's performing inspections throughout facilities, throughout mines, throughout plants, wherever it is, that would otherwise be dangerous places for humans to go. Granted, there are lockout, tagout procedures and all these things we've been doing for decades to make sure those activities are as safe as possible. But that's been my experience with Boston Dynamics, where I think the question is like, okay, we see Spot dancing in all these viral videos, but what is the application in industry? And inspections for safety, for site layouts, optimizing the setup of a plant floor. Those are some of the initial takeaways I've heard, and I'm always looking forward to learning more about what one of the most recognizable companies in robotics is doing.
Absolutely.
Spot's going to be there, by the way. From what I'm told, Spot will be there. The opening keynote is from Boston Dynamics with Spot there. So
there you go. If you want your photo next to Spot, I mean, there's a reason within itself to come to the conference.
Right.
Shall we place bets now that the next viral video will be Spot and Walking in Memphis playing in the background?
Ooh, that's good. When I took a video at Mine Expo and I put "Who Let the Dogs Out" in the background of that video, but Walking in Memphis, even better idea. I'm gonna try to steal that idea first before the rest of you get a hold of that one.
So when we're talking about this upcoming conference, we had some great conversations around integrators, and I think integrators would be a great group of people to come to this event. Who are some other, when you think of titles or people in the industry, from not only the end user side, but also the implementer side, or just the people who want to be more knowledgeable in the industry? Who are people who should be coming to this event?
Well, I mean, certainly end users, people who are trying to apply these technologies successfully. I mean, you asked me in the beginning, what is A3 all about? That's what we're here to do, educate people on how to successfully apply these technologies. It's not just that they're gee whiz things and isn't it cool to watch Spot run around? No, Chris just talked about a whole bunch of application areas. That's what this event is for. So end users, anybody who could see themselves maybe wanting to learn more about autonomous mobile robots or vision or mobile or collaborative, all these robots that are really important, all these technologies that are really important in the end user community. But you mentioned suppliers and other suppliers as well as integrators looking for partners. I mean, there's still a lot of companies that need to get some of these technologies included in their solution. So, I mean, there's great opportunities there. So it'd be easier to ask who shouldn't come.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody ought to come. And one thing I want to point out, even if you can't come to the conference or only want to see just the exhibits, we've got 2 days where you can come for free to see just the exhibits. There is a charge, of course, to hear the conference presentations, but to come and see the exhibits, that's free.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I fully agree with with Jeff on this, is that if you are an end user, and even if your main business is not logistics, if you have a warehouse attached to your facility, you're in logistics.
Yeah.
So if you don't think this is a great way to introduce yourself, learn, see what's on the market, engage with folks. But yeah, if you're on the other end, if you're any way involved with the robotics or automation, from sensors to parts, there was a great question of safety. If you're in that business, there is no reason why you should not come to this conference.
Mm-hmm.
Can I mention something about safety, the safety of the event? So we are requiring that everyone who attends, whether they're speaker, exhibitor, or attendee, show proof of vaccination or have a negative COVID test within 72 hours. That's all being handled by a third party. We're not collecting data on individuals. The third party will verify that. And also, we're going to be in masks as required by Memphis. And we're going to do our best to create social distancing. Of course, that's not always possible when you're eating and drinking. And there'll be a lot of that, too, I have to say. We've got some special events that one of our sponsors is doing a rum tasting one of the nights. Cascadia Capital, a new member of the association. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of fun at this event, too. It's not just learning. It'll be a great deal of fun.
Yeah. And I would say, as far as a lot of the mandates, I think, Pack Expo I felt was very successful, and everyone seemed to have great conversations, great opportunity, and everyone there was masked up, and it was a great event that continued on.
Yeah, I think mentioning the safety minute here is critical. And like the reality is we've all been to the events and I think we've seen those practices put in place. And to be quite frank, not putting a damper on the event, still making it that collaborative, serendipitous environment.
Mhm.
And Jeff, I like that you bring up the rum tasting because there have been more questions coming in. And this isn't necessarily related to the rum tasting itself, but it's a big question that I feel would better be discussed over a long beverage, whether that's a beer, rum, whatever it is. One of the first questions was from Chris Bala. He said, when is the right time to automate versus when is the right time to augment your workforce? And I know we all have thoughts on this. So I would like to start maybe with Aaron, and then let's go Jake and Jeff after that. So Aaron, what are your thoughts on this? And this is a big question, so no need to give the whole dissertation, but some initial thoughts.
I mean, the biggest thing is I would say that the key part is the tasks that you can automate. The very like picking something off a belt, putting on another one. We've automated that process because it is a dull. It's not always dangerous, but it can be dirty sometimes. It is when it fits that criteria of dull, dirty, dangerous. Of those tasks, automate them. Just go ahead, figure out how to automate them. A lot of the AMRs are automating that whole process of having to walk from one side of the facility to the other to get something. Those are automatable tasks. Augmenting is how do you almost supercharge your workforce? How do you give them technology that allows them to do things faster themselves by actually tapping more into what humans are still superior to over robotics? So a lot of the stuff you see now in warehouses is sometimes they have the AR goggles so they can actually see things and scan things. High-speed scanners, RFID, those kind of technologies really can augment and improve your workforce. One of the things for those that are being invited for the Thursday special stuff over at the Fedex facilities, at one of my facilities, is you will actually see some of the areas that we have automated and some of the stuff we have augmented. And I don't want to give away the secret sauce to those that are coming to that. But you'll see how we've actually addressed this question within Fedex ourselves, because there is a way to actually supercharge your workforce using other technologies to augment them. And off to who was next?
I'll grab that. So I think it's a great. I like this idea of supercharging your worker, and where can you? And I'll go back. I'll start with augment first. When you can augment your workforce, when you can augment your workers, you're creating more value and opportunity to them, to the industry. You're, as Chris, I know he does Light Guide, where they do projected augmented reality. They're creating more value and driven solutions through that operator by using additional add-ons, augmented reality, collaborative robots working side by side with operators. It creates more value to work as a space where as an individual, they can only do so much. But when you add a solution on to work alongside them, we're augmenting that workforce. When we're automating a workforce, a process is I can take that worker and put them on a different solution to create more value and opportunity and really purpose out of that person than just on themselves. Where if they're out there and they're simply just putting product or palletizing, right? How many solutions we go to Pack Expo where robots are just simply stacking product on pallets all day long? You automate that solution because that operator, that worker can create value elsewhere and letting them think, allowing them to create new ideas and solutions. That's where you want them to be doing that. And then, Jeff, I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to add to what you guys just said, other than our vision of the future, which is people and robots working together, people and automation working together. People is first, right? Yep. The most important part of the company is people, because they have something that the robots and the automation don't have, and that's the ability to use their brain. The robots can lift heavy things all day. The AMRs can move them around and not get tired. But deciding what to do with all the data that's collected, deciding what the strategy should be for your business, that's the people. And making sure these things run effectively, overseeing them, using them properly, those are people jobs.
Yeah. And I would just add, to finalize this, is Eric Neves from Plus One, who will be one of our speakers. Plus One is going to be at the show as well. I think he's going to have a great presentation of this same kind of topic, and it will be other speakers will, but I know Eric will definitely be bringing that to Memphis.
Yeah. Oh, I remember I was at the same event that Eric was on Monday night. He had a really cool shirt. I can't remember what his shirt is. Do you know what? Do you remember what Eric's shirt is? He has Plus One has this really cool like saying,
"Robots work, people rule."
Yeah, robots work, people rule. What a great thing. I think the other thing that we need to begin to address more is robots and automation is going to create more jobs and opportunity in the future. We're implementing more robotics to address the labor shortage that we're all facing right now, to address the increasing demand in the industry. But what we are going to need is we're going to need more skilled people in the industry, more diversity, to people who can program these robotics, create new solutions, innovate. That is where, as another person or a person who can come to this event, we need more aspiring people to look at these solutions and say, wow, here's this facility that has 100 plus AMRs driving around, autonomously, grabbing products, sorting them and moving them around. We need more aspiring people to say that is a huge passion that I want to follow and get involved with the industry that way. Because that's Absolutely. The future of automation and robotics. Robotics and automation are going to create more jobs and better opportunity that's higher paying in the future.
Well said.
Yep.
And I'm looking at the clock here. We're getting in our final stretch of this conversation. First of all, I wanted to say I'm really starting to look forward to this event because we've had a good crew that have been hanging out in the comments the whole time, having good conversations. And I can't wait to transfer those conversations to the hallways, to the show floor, to Wiseacre Brewery at some point while we're down there in Memphis, since every time I talk to Aaron, he brings that spot up. So keep the discussions going. But as we get in the final stretch of this conversation, we've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about the events. We've talked about state of the industry, why AMRs, what's big in logistics right now, covered a lot of stats. But Aaron and Jeff, is there anything you wish Jake and I would have asked at this point that we haven't touched on yet?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the comments was, I can't make it. Is there going to be something afterward where I can see something from it? Yes, the answer is yeah. We're collecting some of the talks, and there'll be some videos of equipment and things like that. So there will be some opportunity that we'll be announcing after the event for people who can't make it. So I think that's one of the things I wanted to point out. And again, remind people that if you only have a few minutes, a half hour, an hour during your day, and you're in that area, stop in, see the exhibits for free. Just be sure to pre-register if you can so that you can go through that COVID protocol.
Yeah. And I would just say, we're looking forward to you. And if you're a company that's listening right now and you've been sort of on the fence of, I don't know if I need to come, I don't know if I need to exhibit. And it's like, the opportunities that the logistics industry is looking for. And as I said, and we know the logistics industry, the end users are going to be well represented here because there's so many locals, but there's folks coming from the industry, from the end users that are coming in. And so if the clock's ticking down on you, and we've already sold out a bunch of the after events already, but the whole thing is that means there are a lot of folks coming, and the face-to-face conversations, even we're going to have the masks on, are going to be epic. When we had the conference in Louisville, as Jeff talked about, we were sort of on top of each other, but we were all happy because the whole thing is the conversations were great. The speakers were great. Everything was, I made so many connections there that I am still benefiting from today. And those relationships are still growing out of that first conference. And we're definitely going to double, triple, hopefully everything on this. So if you're on the fence or you are trying to think how to justify your travel, the opportunity cost of not coming to this event, I really want you to think about that, those that are out there, because you might miss out on a connection that could pay off huge for you. And I don't care if you're on one side of the side as an end user and questioning if you need to come, or if you're on the business side. And even if you're saying, well, I don't make AMRs, look at the list of exhibitors that are here. A lot of folks are coming. There's going to be some great connections. And Jeff and all of us were talking before we all came on air of how FabTech was and how Pack Expo was. And people are coming to buy. People are out there. They're looking for solutions. They're looking for things to do, how to solve these problems. And this is going to be the next conference. This is your next opportunity to do something.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, I think that, like you said, Aaron, regardless of industry, sometimes we used to say in the early days of robotics conferences, automotive was the biggest end user. It accounted for about 70%. But these other industries who weren't adopters yet would come and listen to the case studies of what automotive companies did, so they could say, oh, wait, we have that same challenge. Like you said, it doesn't matter that it's a warehouse and distribution and logistics. It could be anything. We have the same challenge. Here's some technology that might help us solve it. We ought to be finding out who makes that, who the companies are we can work with to solve our problems.
Yeah. And just to add to that, I don't know how many in our audience have heard the announcement earlier this week of Ford and SK Innovation announcing massive investments in manufacturing here in the U.S. that are going to create 11,000 jobs between the two sites that they're going to create. Where are the two sites they're creating? The biggest of the two will be outside of Memphis. The other one will be outside of Louisville. Are we seeing... where was the last AMR conferences? There is a connection between manufacturing and logistics. If you're a manufacturer, you got to ship your stuff. You got to be near the logistics hubs. Memphis and Louisville are massive logistics hubs. There's a reason, okay? So as Jeff said, even if you're not maybe fully connected to this, as you don't think you're connected to logistics, you're connected to logistics. There is a connection. So don't overthink this. This is a great opportunity to connect, see some great technology. Very much apparently have some great rum. We have 2 breweries downtown. We have a bourbon that I know is Jeff's favorite. That is made here in Memphis. Yeah. And so the whole thing is come on down. You're going to make some great connections. You're going to have some great fun.
Yep. And one quick more question. I noticed Nikki asked, has next year's location been selected? I don't know if has the next AMRL event been selected yet, or has that not been announced yet, Jeff?
Well, I don't know if we've announced it yet. I know that a year from October that we're going to be doing an AMR event in Boston with our vision show. And that vision show is more than just machine vision. There's been robotics. There's been collaborative robots. We're adding mobile robots. We'll probably be adding AI to that event. Whether there's another AMR event in between that is still to be determined. Can I offer something to everybody who's listening now? Jake's wearing that hat. I didn't want him being the only one wearing a hat. So I've got my new A3 hat here. And anybody who's listening and who would like to get one, and it's really nice, and it goes with my blue shirt that I'm wearing, just send me an email at jbernstein, BURNSTEIN, at automate.org. And I'll be send me your address, and we'll be happy to get you out a free A3 hat.
There you go.
No, you look good, Jake.
Boom! Just that quickly. I messaged him, and it just arrived right there.
Instant. Right. New technology. FedEx delivered it.
That FedEx drone got there in time.
Shipped to you via FedEx. But just a couple other things. Before that event, there's going to be the A3 Business Forum that's happening in January this year in Orlando, Florida, which is going to be another great A3 event. And then Automate 2022, Detroit, Michigan, my home state, along with Jeff's as well. That is June 6th through the 9th.
Correct.
So mark that in your calendar as well. Probably going to be really, it's going to be the big event. It's going to be the event of the year, automation, robotics. it's going to be a lot of fun. So those are the two events I know there are dates for right now, and they are going to happen. A3 Business Forum, Automate 2022.
Yep. Yeah.
And automate.org is where you can go to get information about all of those. So even though we've got AMRL coming up here in a week and a half, you guys always have something on the table, Jeff. So make sure automate.org is a website you have saved in your favorites. Easy to remember. One other thing I'll say, and it's when you brought out the baseball hats that made me think of this. For those listening, if anyone's interested in learning more about Jeff and learning more about the trends in the industry, he's actually going to be featured on Manufacturing Happy Hour next Tuesday, the podcast. So make sure to subscribe to that if you want to hear a bit more about Jeff's background. We'll cover some of the same topics today, but Jeff, if I remember right, we went into quite a few different areas in that conversation not too long ago. So plenty more information to hear on AMRL A3 coming up. Jake, I've just got one more question for the crew. You want me to tee that one up?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we started our conversation talking about why we were excited about events coming back, and we've covered AMRL pretty thoroughly. But what's everyone personally excited about for this specific event coming up in Memphis on October 12th through 14th? And Jake, I'm going to let you lead this one off.
Well, now that Jeff told me that spot's going to be there, I mean, it's there's not even an opportunity for debate anymore. You know, pretty much like the coolest robot out there that has the most public view and representation of the future of robotics. And I think, you know, that's super exciting. Other than that, I think Aaron promised me a glass of 4 roses. So that's going to be pretty exciting. And really, it's just going to be connecting with a lot of people. There's just so many great relationships and friendships that I formed virtually, you know, for the past year and a half, having those great conversations with a lot of AMR manufacturers and integrators is what I'm about. I mean, but then again, I love networking. I love conversations. So these in-person handshakes and events are going to be my highlight.
Aaron, how about yourself?
I'm just looking forward to welcoming everyone to my hometown. Normally I have to go. I'm the one that has to go to the conferences. I got to go to all this and all that. And this time I actually get just to stay home and welcome everybody. And the whole thing is I'm downtown myself. So I'm looking forward to just welcoming everyone to my hometown for the past 26 years. I'm an Indiana boy, born and bred, but I am a Memphian now, and I just want to welcome everyone and show off the town and make a whole host of new connections and help the industry make some connections. The logistics industry is ripe for the taking. I mean, the logistics industry is just getting started, and there's so much more we can do, and I'm just looking forward to making all those connections with everybody.
And I'm looking in the comments, there are a bunch of people that are excited for that Fedex tour as well. So coming from the audience there. So not only do you get to show off your hometown, you get to show off your company as well.
Yep. And we're ready for it.
We're looking forward to it. Jeff, how about yourself?
Well, I'm looking forward to thanking everybody. And I'll tell you why, because a lot of these companies supported us during some very difficult times during the pandemic. You know, the association is a collection of people, really, at its root. They're company members, but people work for those companies. And that was the thing I like best about being face-to-face at FabTech or PAC Expos, going up to people and thanking them for supporting us. So looking forward to seeing more people that I can thank for everything they did during this very unusual time that none of us had faced in our lives, and still coming together as an association to educate people about how to automate. So I'll be thanking a lot of people.
Yeah, and I personally wanted to use the word reunion, but that's not really the right word because a lot of us haven't met for the first time. But I feel like the past 18 months have been leading up to this event in many ways where, you know, we'll all get to meet people we've talked to for a long time. I know Jake and Jeff, you've gotten a little bit of a preview of that so far, but I feel like there's going to be an even greater concentration of us coming together for the first time, which will be really exciting. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
And
Jake,
if you didn't need any more incentive, you know, for one time only at the AMRL event, this is a completely selfish plug. you can collect the one and only manufacturing happy hour and manufacturing millennial, desk figures. This is going to go up next to your robot collection, that all of us have, being part of that.
Fun fact to end this conversation on: when Jake showed me the figure that he made, I did not own an Argyle sweater. So this literally arrived in the mail shortly before this conversation. I'm like, you know what? That might not be an outfit I have today, but I can make it an outfit that I have tomorrow. So I will be dressing like my figure at least one day while I'm there.
So, Chris, you were one of those 18 million packages we had to deliver.
Exactly. Yeah, came by super quick. I think I ordered it like Tuesday night, was here today. 2-day shipping. Can't beat it.
Perfect. Well, I think that's about wrapping us up for time. Once again, this is just a great summary of the upcoming AMRL conference that's going to be happening in 2 weeks, Memphis, Tennessee. If you're not currently registered for the event, hopefully today you're able to learn a little bit more about what's happening and make that final decision. Go ahead and go over to www.automate.org, register for the event. I know we'll all be excited to see you. Any last words from anyone else, or are we all set?
Well, again, thanks for being on the call. And if you want one of these hats, you know how to find one. So just send me a note.
Perfect. All right, everyone. Have a great week, and we'll see you in Memphis.
Take care. See y'all.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.